licenses. Yes. So you see, you have a community plan. So for community plan, currently AI Center is not available, but it's in future pipeline that they will make it available. For now, if you want AI Center, you have to request an enterprise trial. You will only be able to get AI Center if your email ID is associated with some like your organization or something. I was like, we had this discussion with UiPath. Currently,
Yes, ma'am.
Gmail accounts are not allowed somehow. Can I also see your robots and services? Robots and services is just beside the users and the
Yes, yes,
licenses.
ma'am.
Yep. Yes. So you do not have any AI robot. So you have to enable your enterprise license. Once you do that, there is something else that you might need to change. You might need to assign your tenant an AI robot. All right. So how to do that is you click on tenants, right? On tenants, you see this default tenant. There is no AI center mentioned. So you see those
Ma'am.
three dots on the right hand side. Yes. So over here, click on tenant settings. So once your enterprise license is available for you, over here you will get AI center, AI robots mentioned. Just check that box, and AI center will be available for you. So that's
Got
one
it.
thing that you need to do.
Okay, got it, ma'am. And my next doubt is,
Hmm. Okay. So what is the difference between default and Pathfinder, right?
yes, ma'am. And
All
actually, you
right.
changed, like in the video, I saw you changed it from default to Pathfinder.
Yes. So I can tell you why. Okay, let's go back to your cloud account for this. So in phase two, I remember you were taught the basics of UiPath. So in that, if you would have gone through the orchestrator basics, there is this concept like for you, if you see on the right hand side, topmost corner, there is called something called as default tenant, right? So this
Yes,
is
ma'am.
your default value, default folder. Now once again, go to orchestrator, extreme left hand side, click on orchestrator. Okay. So for your workspace, you only have a shared workspace right now. That is your default workspace. All your storage buckets are created inside this. But for my purpose, what I did, I have a shared workspace also, and I have a workspace folder. This is a folder. This is a shared folder. All right. Or you can call it as workspace. Then the other folder or workspace that I have is called as Pathfinder. And inside that, I have my storage buckets associated
So,
with Pathfinder. That's why I changed it.
okay, so basically, I was encountering a problem, error that my bucket is not defined or something.
Okay, let's first go and see what storage buckets we have, and then we'll solve the problem.
Ma'am,
All
just
right,
created.
invoices. All right, very good. Let's go and see what you have now. Okay, there is this pin kind of icon, right? If you click twice, it will dock your error list. We can first see your configuration.
Ma'am, actually, this error is coming because of the.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I am not able to remove this error, ma'am. If I'm typing dt dot table,
No, it should be dt.table name, not table.
ma'am, there's
I
no
will.
option coming for table.
Okay, we'll go and check this problem. Let's first solve your problem uh, with classifier, and then we'll solve this problem for you. Okay.
Ma'am, then I have to delete this one right away.
Or can I see your classifier first?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Just
ma'am.
the activity. No. Where is your validation station? It should be before this beta. Go back to your sequence.
Ma'am, how to remove this box, ma'am?
Yeah, there is this small pin shaped button, right? Okay, yeah,
Okay,
click
okay.
that. Yeah, in the second if, check the second if. Yes. Oh, this is your create and this is your wait. So somewhere here you're using your storage bucket. Maximize the activity. Yes, your invoices. Remove your bucket directory path. Keep it as default. Alright. Okay. Let's see your wait activity. Yeah, this should work. Can you test run by commenting of this? Just press select for each and press Control D.
Control V.
D. D for Denmark.
Oh, D. Yes. Ma'am,
It's not able to find the bucket. Can I see your Office Twitter Cloud account? Storage buckets. Okay, try giving this shared as your name over there if default is not working for you. Can you check the name of your bucket once more? Because usually default works.
should I change the name to shared?
Yes. As well.
I guess it is working now.
Can you step into yes, on your left right step right, not step into bucket. Buckets, not
Hmm.
shared. Yes, that might be one reason. Okay, try creating new bucket and then uh, redoing it. Uh, Even if you don't give your files inside this, if you don't upload, it will not affect anything. Oh, one more thing. You are assigned to the same account, right? Like
Yes,
what
ma'am.
your studio is configured with the same account right
Yes,
now,
ma'am.
right? Okay.
Bucket directory path is shared only or default?
Keep it shared only for now. Hmm. So somehow your action item is not, your activity is not recognizing. Can you stop this and can I see your project settings? Click on project tab once it stops. Click on the settings, project settings, codes persistent. Okay, toggle it off and then toggle it to no, apply and then again toggle it back to yes. Okay. Also, just give me a minute. Can you give, instead of just default, try giving default path. Like, let me ping you. Let's try this.
Sorry, can you repeat?
I have pinged something in the chat. Try
Okay.
using that.
Like this.
Yes, try that. Can you see the storage details for bucket directory path in your variables, locals? Okay, can click on watch. Click on watch.
And where?
Um, Inside the local panel, there is locals, then watch, and then immediate, right? Uh, just above the output.
Okay, okay, watch.
Add bucket directory path. The value is not getting populated at all in your case. Mm, okay, let's do a small test. So it's basically your bot is not able to recognize your folder on the orchestrator. Stop this. Let's create a flow chart, a test flow chart. Go back to design tab. Yeah, new flow chart. Click on new, a flow chart. Just name it as test. All right. Okay, go back to your activities. Search for storage. Just write storage. So what I'm trying to see is whether your orchestrator, whether your studio is able to attach to your orchestrator, connect to your orchestrator or not. So what we are going to do is we are going to upload a storage file. So click, take this. Okay, let's click on properties. Okay, so let's start giving values to this. So my give a storage bucket name. Your any storage bucket name?
Ma'am, is continue dis- display name.
No, no, no. Storage bucket name. Inside the storage, if you
Okay,
see the
okay.
activity, there are inputs, right?
Mhm.
No, it's not an out. Delete this. You have invoices and invoice as storage bucket created for you, right?
Okay,
Uh, for destination, give any folder location that you want. Yeah. Let's just put this. Okay. And from where you want to upload, just give a file over here. Your any of your file destination over here. All right. Let's test
error is coming.
your path. You've given the path like a PDF path. Like suppose you're uploading a file. You have to give a file path over there. Whatever file you want to upload to Invoice One.
Ma'am, that I gave in the folder path.
No, that's okay. Do you have a PDF file that you want to upload? Just give that file path over here. Yeah. Give that. You have to give the name of the file also, right? Which file you want to upload. Why don't you go back to the file and right click and get the file name as well? Copy as path. Use copy as path option. Shift right click, it will give you the name of it.
Ma'am, there is no such option. Ma'am, there is an error coming.
Can I see? Okay, can I see what path have you given in document? Hold on, give me a moment. Just give me a moment. here what you have given is your destination, right? Over here in your path, have you given the complete file path that you want to upload? Okay, how would it know that your three invoices, invoice three is what kind of a document? Select that document, shift right click on the path, you'll get copy as path, use that, and in your destination, mm, basically whatever you've given is sufficient. Click OK and OK. Um, yes, run it. So if it's still errors, that means your connection is not working with your orchestrator because I tried the same thing and it works. Yes, your orchestrator is not like you're not able to connect through your robot to your orchestrator again. Why is that happening? Can I see your connection, assistant? Or better still, we can find this by simply yeah going to your go to your profile. Where is settings? Uh, Sign out and re-sign in. All right. Now try. Open your orchestrator once more where your storage bucket is. Yep. Try invoices or invoice any of your buckets.
Uh, it's not connected. I guess. No, it's connected.
Strange that you're connected and you're still not able to find your storage bucket. Okay, we'll get on this question. Let's solve the other questions and then we'll get back to you to your question, storage bucket question. Uh,
I got the third point, ma'am. The fourth point is there are two types of for each
yes,
activity.
yes.
Ma'am, when I chose the second one,
Huh? Oh, never mind. Go back to the flowchart in your design tab. Yeah, now select view. Yes, yes.
I was not able. Wait, I'll open my uh, this one. See, ma'am, I am not able to get the variables in this.
Which variable are you trying to select over
Ma'am,
here?
any ma'am, I'll show you. Like data set is a variable that we have created here, I guess.
Okay.
Not
Okay.
like
First go to the properties. Go to the properties panel. Okay. So um, let's check for classification results. So change it to classification result. You had it over there. Okay, and then for each what uh, give a variable like for each item in this something like that, right? Give a variable. Okay,
now
now
it's coming. Now it's coming. Okay, ma'am.
auto
But what is the
classification
difference?
result. There is no difference. It's
Okay.
basically one for each. Both of them are same. One for each. The properties are predefined. It's a new activity added in 21.4 release. Earlier we only had the simpler one that I've been using.
Ma'am, there was an option for force apply OCR. Ma'am, can you again tell me what is the purpose of that?
Okay, so for supply OCR, can you go to any activity where you can digitize activity? Let's go to digitize. Okay, so if you click over here, go to the properties of your digitize. So it is basically false. So when your force apply OCR is false, whatever input documents you have, if they are machine readable, then OCR will not be applied. But if they are images, your invoice is in form of an image or scanned, then only your UiPath document OCR would be applied to it. Now, if you change it to true, whether it is in machine readable format or it is in scanned format or image format, for all your documents, your UiPath document OCR will be applied. Why I always keep it as false is because, first of all, digitize takes the longest time. To digitize your document, it consumes the longest time. Now, when you force apply OCR, you basically add more time to your whole process. So we don't want that. We want our bot to be quick enough.
Okay, so if anytime we are not like clear about what the input files are, then we have to mark it as true. But
Uh,
here we know that we have only PDFs and like scanned, so we are keeping it false.
okay, for scanned PDF and images, it should be true, and for machine readable PDF, it would be false.
Okay.
And yes, that is a good approach to do. But usually, when you work with the business in real life scenario, they'll tell you what kind of document they have. OCR usually comes with a price. That's why.
Got it. Thank you, ma'am.
Your storage bucketing, it should be resolved. If not, I'll try and send you some solutions. But basically, it's because of your bot orchestrator connection. That's all. You are on default tenant, and share your default path should work for your storage buckets.
Okay, I'll try again and like,
Yeah,
okay, thank you.
you're most welcome. So I'll quickly jump in today's session. We are done with document understanding, and today the topic is UiPath apps. And let me share my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen. So let's start. Okay, so this is your automation cloud, right? On your automation cloud, you will have something called as UiPath apps. So you have to click on apps. Okay, so before even we start building app, UiPath came out with the concept that there are business cases, especially in banking domain, where we cannot give our end user the system. So suppose you're in a bank, we are going to think of a scenario and we are going to work on it. So suppose we are working for a bank and this is uh, an application where you accept or reject the cash in amounts. So your front end user is basically an employee of a bank, and your backend application is this, but you do not have an interface, front end interface for your employee to use. So you can use UiPath apps to build those scenarios. The middleware layer or your front end layer and your back end application would be connected using our workflows that we will create using Studio. So before like anything I do, I'll quickly create a simple workflow and we'll see what we are going to do. So I believe everyone in phase two has done some kind of automation, desktop automation. If not, today's session will be a good revision as well. I'm going to create an input file for us quickly just for the demo purpose. But our input should come from the user, not from an Excel. We'll see how that will happen. So in the meantime, let me just do this. Or I can hard code as well. So I'll use flowchart. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to create a middleware layer. So your middleware layer is always your robotics layer that you have to use. And I'm going to create a flow that basically works on this particular application. Always remember this is a backend application in today's demo and our scenario. So let's start. So we have first we have to open this application, right? So we have an activity called as open application activity. It will open this application. Yes. And then I have to type in certain values, cache in values like 1, 2. Then I have to cache in some values in not honest check. Then something on not honest check and not honest check. And then once I do that, I'll get a transaction number and total deposit. This is what I want, a transaction number and total deposit. So let's start coding for this. Okay, one thing. So this is a question to everyone. Type into and set text. Can anyone tell me difference between these two activities, set text and type into activities? You can unmute yourself. Okay, all right. I'll tell you the difference. So type, yes.
Ma'am, in set text, we can extract the data from the Excel or anywhere, and it will directly set the text.
Uh-huh.
And for type into, we have to type it in the studio only, and I guess.
Mm. So both type into and set text activities are basically they do the same job. Whatever value I'll provide here in text must be quoted this box. It will be written in here in this text box. So both are used to write into a text box, but the difference is when you use type into, you get an option to first click on this field. Like we manually first click and then start typing, right? So your type into gives you that liberty, and set text will basically set the text at the back end. So you will not see the bot clicking somewhere, but directly just setting the text in one go. Then also when you use set text, I'll show you a practical demo rather than just talking. Let me quickly show you a demo. So, okay. First demo. In type into you have properties. If I have some value here, let me write some value. I delete all this. Let's just focus on this. So it will delete if something is written over here, type into activity. If I set this empty field as true, will first delete this value and then type into it. But there is nothing like this that we can do with settex. See, the property, I don't have anything like that. Then using this typing tool, I can actually set what delay I want between writing 8, then 10-second delay, then write 9, something like that. You don't have something like this in set text. And other things is stimulate type and send Windows message. So if you would have done simulate type and send Windows message in your phase two automation sessions, you would know that simulate type and send window message basically if your screen is minimized and the bot can't see the screen and this is selected any of these property, your bot will still function. It does not need to see this. You don't have this property, this liberty with set text. So these are two examples. Now let me run this quickly and show you. But will open again. Okay. Okay, it was very quick. Let me send some delay. Some delay first. Let it be 15. No, more delay. I want so that you can see 25 seconds and MTS true. Yes. And here as well, I want some delay. So delay before, let's give um, for 8 seconds. Okay, let's do this. Let me first done. So it has a delay and then it will type in the values of 89. First with set text, now, now then we're typing to. So you saw that if you were careful, like if you were literally watching it, you saw that it set into 89, then it emptied the field and then typed first 8, then 9. This is typing 2. But as such, 89 is directly typed using settext. This is one difference. Why am I focusing so much or obsessing over this? There is a reason. So in some application, if you use settext, it will not work. Especially if you're automating SAP. I hope in future you do that. So your settext in some cases will not work. So type into works for most of the application. Let's start with others. So I'm going to give some meaningful information with my activity. One best practice to always keep in mind is to give good names to your activity. Okay, if you see that there is one property, if I just press 1, 2 and I don't click anywhere else, this dollar sign is not appearing. So this one thing that we have to keep in mind with this um, application. So let's just quickly do this. Anything else? All right, step 2. Yes. So in order to get some values from the screen, it's a question to you guys. Do you know which activity I can use? Think. There's an activity called as get text that will help you scrape the values from the screen. So let me just give good name, cache in, check, honest, check, this. then I have to get value total, and I have to get transaction number. Alright, let's get that. So for that, I have two activity. I have an activity called as get text. What it does that it creates the value from your screen. So okay, if you do that, there is so many things you can see. Get full text, get visible text, right? If you, I hope that it was taught in the earlier sessions. So when you do screen scraping, that's OCR supported in the background. This activity uses basically get full text, get visible text. So what happens if you click on get full text? If suppose inside this total deposit, there is a hidden value written total deposit for current transaction. But for current transaction, you can't see on the screen. You can only see total deposit, right? So when you use get full text, it will get everything, the hidden values as well, the hidden values over here as well. But get visible text will only get whatever is visible on the screen. It is very important when we are doing screen scraping. Same get OCR text from an image. If you want to extract a particular text, use this. CV text is used when you are using computer vision. It's again an advanced topic. Takes one class separately. I'll tell you later about it. Let's use getText. This getText is normally applied for normal automation scenarios that we are doing, which is not OCR based. That's from a web based application or a desktop based application. We are going to use two getText activity. And let's get this quickly. So first this is total amount. Then this is transaction number. All right. Let's write it somewhere. Right line and quickly give this a run. All right. All right. So we got the output $270, 788,765. That's correct. So our workflow basically this is also the middleware layer since we are going to create an application for this. It's ready, right? So let me just bring one close. I want to close the application once my job is done. So I'll bring sorry, not close workbook, close application activity inside this and keep inside here. So once the job is done, I want my application to close. That's it. Now we are going to create an application that my user or my employee can use. So for to do that, let's click on create inside the UiPath App Studio. So this is your UiPath App Studio. Let's click on create. Once you click on create, you can basically give a name over here. So I'm going to give Teller App Demo as my name, and I'm going to click on create. So now you can start creating all your application inside this. So this is your design panel where you can design your application. Over here you have various control input like text box, label, etc. Your display, containers,
and icons. So what are containers? Your containers, if you see, are nothing but where you will start your development, where all your input or display or icons would be there. All right, so let's start by pulling in one container in our workflow. So once I do that, I can basically position this somewhere um, in my design panel, or this even, okay, let's bring on in more control. Let me keep this open. I have container, I have container layouts, I have page container that can go inside this container layout and outside also. So if you see, whatever I'm bringing in is basically a part of my main page. So right now I'm trying to create a main page. Okay, let's start one by one. Let's first delete all this. I don't want this. It Okay. Let's start by the by first major thing is container layout. Let's start by creating a container layout. So once I create a container layout, I can basically rename it. And now I'll start by creating my page. So this page, what I want is, first I want to display that it is a teller app. So for that, I have something called as header. Let's bring header inside this particular main page container. All right. So once you bring the header, you can actually manipulate its property. So let's untick this. Let's go over here. So if you want to give a meaningful name, you can give over here in the text. So let's give this teller app. And right now, I'm not okay. We'll come to value binding and everything once we develop this app. So events and style. I'm going to discuss events. I'm going to discuss value binding in detail. So first, let's click this and bring it to this. Okay, for styling this, we can go to the tab style, and over here I can choose whether I want it in the center or left hand side, etc. So for now I want it in the center. I want it to be headline 1, and you can select the background color, font, you can change the font, etc. So let's keep it as such, whatever we have. Now let's start by adding 3 values. Now I want this, that what we have hard coded, it should be dynamic. It should be given by my employee. So for doing that, I have to create 3 input text boxes. So cash in, honest check, and not honest check. Let's start doing that. Let's go back to our control panel. So first, I'll bring in 3 labels. All right, and let's start by naming it. Again, the similar way, the way we did for header, we're going to do it for this. So dash in, then for this is honest check, for this is not honest check. Now I want to enter some value over here, right? So I'll add a text box. That's my input. So you have a lot of text box. You have a date picker. You can pick a date as input. You have a checkbox, everything. But for now, I'm going to use a text box. So let's use a text box. So this is for cash in. Then this text box is for honest check, and this text box is not honest check. Now I want, when my user supplies me this value or my employee supplies me this value and clicks on a button submit, it should directly enter these value over here. So how to do that? You have a button, or okay, I'll show you both. It's actually interesting. Button, we have a button. We also have something called as icons. So let's go to icons. Okay, let's go to icons. So from here, you can actually pick out symbols if you want to make it more fancy. So you can pick out symbols for enter, based on your choice. So currently, it works as a button. You can work, like, suppose I bring this icon, and let me add one more icon. Okay, this icon. So to attach a file. So if I have these 2 icons, what I can do is, as soon as the user clicks on this, or clicks on this, a file is attached, uploaded over here. As soon as the user clicks on this, it goes back to the home page if we had a home page for our application. So for these all purpose, you can use icon. It's interchangeable with button and icon. So, okay, let's go back. For button, I'm going to use button, but I'm going to use a name as submit. Now I want to make this button as, fancy. So I can bring an icon over here as well. So for submit, maybe I'll use this just for showing how we can use icon in various ways. So this application is basically created a very basic application. Now, if you remember when I started this session, I told you that our scenario is my employee cannot access this application. So we are creating an application for the person. So whatever values my employee is using over here, as soon as he clicks submit, this value should automatically be updated in this application. And I told you to connect this web-based application and this desktop application, I'm going to use a middleware layer, and our middleware layer is this, our flowchart. Okay. We in the flow chart, we also have something. We are also getting the total amount and the transaction number, right? So my employee said that when I click on submit, please give me the total amount and give me the number, total amount and transaction number. But he also told me that I don't want that when I get my output, it should come on the same page. How to help? Very simple. I'll create one more page and I'll name this page as output page. Let's name it output page. And again, once you've created your output page, let's bring in a new control, our container control, container layout. All right. So this container layout is for output values. I'm going to name it as output container. And then what is the two values that I'm getting? They are total amount and transaction number. Again, I'll get two labels. Okay, let me enlarge this first. Bring it in the center a bit. Labels. Okay, first let's give it a fancy name before anything I do. I want a fancy name. I'll give it as output page or something. So labels, and then I want actually two more labels. Or no, I have to teach you one more property, so I will not bring labels. So let's keep this here. Let's bring input box and bring text boxes. Done. Let's start by naming our activities. So I'm going to name my output page header as final values. Then your first is transaction total amount, and the other is transaction number. That's it. Now, I told you that I have to teach you more properties, right? Why I said that, I'll tell you. So if you see over here in the total amount, basically this is editable. Let me show you a preview. I'll go to the main page and I'll show you preview of this application that we've created so far. This is how it looks. So if you see, your text boxes are basically editable. It's editable. Right now, if I click submit, nothing will happen because I've not created an event for it, but we'll do that. So suppose if you're actually working for a banking client and in your output page, you leave this total amount editable and the employee goes in and writes a less amount that actually was submitted, it will be a breach of security. We can't do that, right? So how to prevent something like this? So what you can do is click on this text box and disable it. Again, click on this text box and disable it. Once you do that, it becomes non-editable. Let's see. So, okay, it's still starting with the first page. Let me make this as start page. This is also very important. You have to be very careful what is your start page. If you see, I can't type anything. I can't even select this text box because I disabled it, right? So this is one property that I wanted you to see. Okay, how to change your start page or to configure your start page, whichever page you want to make as your start page or main page, select it, right click on it and set it as start page. That's it. It is as simple as that. Now let's get into the event creation part. Now we have everything configured. We also have the middleware layer. Now I want this value. As soon as I type this value, it should go to my robot. How? For that, we have something called as arguments. We have to use arguments. So always remember, if something is coming from your application, this is a thumb rule. If the input is coming from your application, you will always in your workflow create input arguments. Now, if you see after the bot performs everything, it gives as output total amount and transaction number. So your arguments in this case, an output coming from the robot to the application will be always an out argument. So this is thumb rule. Let's start by creating the argument. So first three values that will come from this application will create three arguments, 1, 2, and 3. Let's do that. Then the output of this particular workflow has to go inside this application, but it is going out from this workflow, right? It is not coming inside. So we have out argument for this. Out total amount, and remember, change the direction over here. Then out transaction number. Again, that's it. All right. Now this we have created. How will the bot know that it has to provide this value inside that particular flow? That is where binding comes into picture. Before we bind anything, let's start by first changing this hard-coded value. In caption, uh, in honest check, and in not honest check. Then your get text amount over here, instead of total, now we have an argument out total amount, and over here we have a transaction number. Out transaction number. All right. So now let's publish this workflow so that we can start with binding. All right, I'm going to simply publish it. Done. So I've created the package. I'll create a process on my orchestrator. And remember, if I'm going too fast, stop me. I'll answer your queries. It's very important. So I have, I've published a package over here, Tello app over here. I'll create my processes inside Pathfinder because currently my robot is connected to this workspace. I'll add a process. So my package is Teller. Rest is auto-populated. Rest is all auto-populated. I don't have to worry. Now, my second step is to give a name. I'll give my process a name as Teller app again. That's it. Just click on create. So once you do that, before binding, always remember it's important to run. Even if it fails, that's not our problem. It will fail because I do not have any value associated, right? Never mind. But I have to run this one. So let's start from here. I can, or I can start from here. Let me start from here. So even if it fails, nothing, no problem. But that never ran thing should not appear. That's the whole case. That's it. It's done. Now my problem is solved. It's less than 20 seconds ago it has run. So it should never run before binding. This is a trick actually. Let's start. So what I want to bind that process that I have created over here, Teller app process, to my application. How to do that? All right, let's minimize it. Let's click on plus. Let's click on process. All right. So if you're configuring it for the first time, uh, don't worry. This information is auto-populated because your app studio basically lies on your automation cloud. So you don't have to worry. Then let's click on next. Let's click on Pathfinder and let's select the application that I want for this process. I'm going to select this and you see everything over here is available. I'm just going to select this application and that's it. Now this is first part of binding. Refresh it. This is your first part of binding and your process is successfully binded. Your process from the orchestrator successfully binded to your project, your application. Now let's start from value binding. Now over here, you remember that we have already binded our app and whatever input comes here should be a part of our argument in cache in. It is as simple as that. Start with the other one also, then not honest check, done. Now what I want is as soon as I click submit, it should run the robot for the process teller app. How? For buttons, we create events. So let's click on event and let's click on create rule. So it's very simple. As soon as you click on the rule, this is your event page. As soon as that happened, I want a process to start. And what process should it start? It should be teller application. I want it to run in an unattended fashion that I don't want somebody, I want this application to start the bot on its own. So that's it. I can stop here. But what I want is something more fancy. That when the bot starts running, I want a spinner to start. The spinner should be visible and saying that processing your transaction. Then when it's completed, I want to hide the spinner. So to hide the spinner, just uncheck this. And I also want to open other page. So open a page here. Which page do you want to open? I want to open the output page. Now that is done. Just close it. Now as soon as you click submit, you will be taken to the output page because you've already configured the event for the button. Now once over here, you have to value bind the outputs. So for total amount and for transaction number, put this transaction number. That is all. This is the most like also an elaborate but most useful thing that I can show you. Let's start with the preview first. So I'll close anything that's open. All right. So cash and check maybe 34, 35, 36, submit. So you remember the spinner that I added processing your transaction. This should actually trigger this process. All right, I'm going to stop this, and it's because of my robot. I don't have attended robots at the moment. I'm going to use attended automation for this. As soon as I click this, open this, allow, job started processing. So what I did is, okay, let me rerun because I actually had my assistant on top. Okay, first of all, I'll tell you what happened with my process. First, let's go to admin page and I'll tell you what happened. Currently, my robots that I have licenses available is basically for attended named user only, that two robots. And I do have unattended robot one, but it is already occupied. I'm also running my AI projects. That's why. So I can't run. Apart from AI robots, I'm also using this. So I can't use this unattended robot. So I only have attended at the moment. Therefore, I converted the event over here from unattended to attended automation. That's not an issue. Let's rerun this so that we can view our process again. When you're creating it, by default, you'll get at least one unattended robot license. You can try for both. Let's again start this. 234, 56, 7, values. And that's it. So you see it also started the robot, started the application, did whatever work it has to do, and opened up a new page. So this is one advanced concept that we have in UiPath now. I leave the floor open, not just for question, but also for ideas. Since you've seen document understanding, you have seen UiPath apps. These both of them are highly consumed in automation these days. I want you guys to think of an idea where you can use it for your projects, maybe. Unmute yourself, we can have a discussion. Or ask me questions. All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share this application with you guys. Let me publish it first. So it's very simple. Right now, it's still in development phase, but how do you publish your application? It's just this button, and that's it. Your app is published. Now let's go back to the App Studio. In an organization, when you work for some organization, there will be multiple departments, and not every department will need all the kind of application, right? So you can actually limit the access by clicking on share. And over here, if you click on allow all users, everyone will get access. Or over here, you can specify username and everything. So how to do that? Just click on assign role and search for the user that you have. I might not have this. I don't have Nicholas anymore. So let's try this. Yeah. So I have few like administrators and etc. I can add like this. So you can assign a role. They can run, simply just run, or they can edit the application as well. So these are the roles available for your application. I will share this code with you, this application code. It's very simple. I will also share this middleware layer that we've created using UiPath. This is an example of robot as a service. Robot as a service is where you not only use robot for automation, but you also provide a service in form of an application. Uh, if you look for any big four companies like Deloitte, KPMG, or PwC or EY, they are usually now focusing on robot as a service. So this is one important thing that I can teach you. And yeah, the floor is still open for questions or suggestions if you have any. Yeah, ma'am, what if we want to use more than one unattended bots? Okay, you actually normally in big organizations we have multiple robots, but always remember one robot, one machine. So if you have one laptop, your one machine is situated on that. Your one robot is situated on your laptop. Then, if you have one more unattended bot license, you will need one more laptop to associate it with. It's like how do I tell you in the simplest form? Like you are an entity, right? You as a person is an entity, an individual entity. You have to treat your bot like that. So yeah, you can have multiple bots on the same orchestrator but different machines. So I can tell you one thing. Like currently in the in organizations that I've worked, we had at least 84 bots, both like attended and unattended, but we had different machines for all the bots. All right. Any more questions? Any suggestions that you guys have, or anything else that you want to learn from me? If not, even after the session, if you have any question and you want to contact me, you can contact me through LinkedIn. I'm available there. You can still ask me question. You can ask me other concepts as well. I'm always available. So yeah, that's all from my side. What I did in our sessions, I've covered two advanced topic of UiPath, that is document understanding and UiPath apps. So that's all from my side, guys.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, what will the difference if we assign it to a unattended bot?
Okay. So when you see that first time when I ran the attended bot, it asked me to give it permission, right? Allow a permission to it.
Yes, ma'am.
But when you have unattended bot, you will not be required to give permission. It will automatically start working without your permission.
But second time it like, didn't ask for
Yeah,
permission.
because I was running on the same machine, same instance.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Ma'am, one more doubt.
Yes.
Ma'am, like from the previous session, ma'am,
Hmm. Yes.
can I share my screen?
Yes. Yes. Oh yeah,
Ma'am,
this one
there.
was left. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So what's the issue? Yeah. Like if you see in the sheet name, you've given dt dot table name, right? Just copy that over there. Okay. Add a plus sign. Add a plus sign. No, no, no. Better in your yeah over there. Just add a plus sign before dot xlsx. Open. Yeah. Okay. Add a plus sign there before the star of your double quotes. Yeah. Now just do that control space bar thing. Table name. Okay. Delete everything. Okay. Start by simply giving dt dot table name first. No, no, just give dt dot table name. I want to see why you are not getting that option. dt dot table name. You're still not getting it. Hmm. Can you pass me your access, screen access?
Thank you. There's no such option.
Okay, never mind. Go back to your studio. Um, Datasets.tables. Okay, can I see your DT? What value it is in the properties for each properties for each
So
properties. Oh, that's the you have to select system.data.data table. No. It's a data. Okay, data set is a combination of data tables. So you're navigating through each of those data tables. So you here it will be system.data.data table. Yes,
okay,
like that. Now you try and you will be able to do it.
got it, ma'am. Thank you so much.
All right. So one more thing. If before we end the session, I have some amazing things to tell you guys. Do not stop learning UiPath over here because it has huge career perspective. One more thing. Wait. My screen is visible. Is it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. It's yes. I forgot. Always remember this forum is a very interesting place. I was actually your storage bucket issue. If you can find answers over here, you'll find it some or the other answer available for you over here. Okay, so you can check over here for your storage bucket issue. I think Aditya, you were asking me, right? So you can look for your answers on forum. Be very active on forum. The other thing that I want you guys is not to ever stop learning. Why I say that, let's quickly go to Academy. There's so much to learn. In the meantime, it loads. There are courses on what I've taught you, UiPath apps. There are courses on document understanding. It will cover everything that whatever I have given in the session, you will find it over there, but in much more better arranged manner. You will also get a certificate from UiPath once you complete those courses. That means you'll be a certified developer. You should get yourself certified with advanced certification as well from UiPath. Get that. That means that you know how to create robots. So that's very important. These certificates are free, but if you go to this tab of certification, the UI RPA and this one UI ART, these are costly. These are like has some cost associated. Don't do this. Go by learning by role, get certified from here for citizen developer or RPA foundation developers, and then advanced developers, and then go to courses. Whatever I've taught you, document understanding, UiPath apps, you will find it over here. Then I also want you to get certified in Orchestrator. You have a separate training over here for Orchestrator as well. So go with that. You can like choose which category, which thing you want. Remember, I was telling you about AI Center. You can get yourself trained on AI Center from here. So yeah, never stop learning. There is a lot to learn. Um, and any question, you can still find me on LinkedIn and you can ask me questions. So yep. Anything else, guys? Any question? I'll be happy to. Please send the codes and study materials for reference. Yes, I'm going to send it all. So I don't have a content for UiPath apps at the moment, but I'll send you the app code. Okay, that's all from my side for today's session. You're
Thank you
most
so
welcome.
much.
You're most welcome. You're welcome, Aditya. And Amit as well. Okay, then I'll take your leave. Thank you guys. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you so much.